Aha, hello, Kev.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
Very good. Yeah, how have you been doing?
I have been busy. How have you been doing?
Yeah, oh, I don't think I've been as busy, but I've been doing well. I would have liked to have been busy, but my procrastination was stunted by watching The Expanse. Um,
Oh,
so, yeah, I mean, like, Yoshi and Charon, for that matter, had been begging me to watch it for, like, months. But then I finally
yeah,
got around to doing it. And I was like, because you, like, have you watched it? Have you watched all of it? Or have you not?
yeah. I just haven't watched the new season, but I've watched up to season all the way through season 5.
Right, okay. I think there was a bit of a problem because seasons 2 and 3 were my favorite, right?
Hmm.
And
Oh
like
yeah.
it was around that time when I was like, oh, I've really got to edit this next video. Like I've done like the microbial style one. Finally, I've done a video for it.
Oh, oh,
Um,
nice.
but like because those two seasons were really interesting, I was like, oh damn it! You know when you get that bug in your head and you like, you start
Hmm.
trying to work and then you're like, no, but there's a bit more. And oh, so yeah.
Yep.
But finally, it's out the way.
Yeah. I was like that when I was watching The Expanse. It just sucked me in.
Yeah, it's
I
really,
couldn't
really
stop watching.
interesting. Yeah.
I think it sets the bar on sci-fi now. I mean, honestly, like I watched Star Trek Discovery, and I like it. Um, I generally liked Picard as well. I don't care what the internet says about it. But The Expanse just really sets the bar on that's like actually where we would be 200 years from now. Like the technology and everything that they show in that show, like that's pretty much what we'd have.
Yeah, I like that attention to detail. I think it's pretty good. I found the accents quite funny. Like the whole Belter
Yeah.
accent. There's the actor that plays Dawes. He's quite a well known dude, and I recognized him from playing, I think, Moriarty in the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. Films. I forgot his name now, but he's like this, well known like kind of British actor. And it was just funny,
Hmm.
like watching him do like the Belter accent. I was like, oh my god.
Oh man, you do that pretty well.
Yeah, I know. I did it spontaneously to Sharon and Yoshi, like without even thinking about it. I was like, wait, it's dead on. It's like a perfect mix between like Cockney and like some other stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
it really is. It's wow. I mean, I can't do it because I can't do a British accent to save myself. But it was, it was awesome. I mean, every time I do the British accent, it's Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
But but yeah, the Belter stuff was crazy. And I just love how like they come to Earth and they can't survive because the
yeah, that was
gravity just kills them.
interesting.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, just those little attention to detail, like the fact that half of the time you see these ships and they're on approach, but the engines are like firing out toward the camera. And you're like, wait a minute, until you realize, yeah, like that's pretty much how it would have to happen because you'd have to slow down for more than half the trip.
yeah, yeah,
You'd get up to critical velocity and then you would have to flip and slow down to approach because there's no friction in space, right? So it's like it's not like warp, in Star Trek or Star Wars where they just like appear out of nowhere and they come to a dead stop. Like no.
yeah. No, I completely agree. I find it really interesting because they seem to ride that line between trying to make things realistic while also doing the whole like mysterious alieny type stuff,
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah,
fun.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, Belter
Beltalowda.
uh, but Sharon did get annoyed at me
Hi,
though
Beltalowda.
because like I skipped through some scenes. Like I know like I pay attention to everything that's going on, but especially in season one, I did this quite a lot. But when there's some really long scenes with dialogue and just nothing's really moving. So I was doing that again in the last season, right? But yeah, I don't know. Season 2 and 3 were my favorite overall.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked all the twists and turns.
When the blue goo started to arrive, I was like, "You what?"
Hmm.
And then it kind of got, Why have aliens appeared? Why does it have to be aliens? Why can't it be something else?"
I kind of
Yeah.
wish they did more of it though. I know this will be quite spoilery. Um, But like, yeah, I really liked that mystery side because you didn't really know where it was gonna go, and I liked because when they found stuff out, the way that it behaved wasn't like typical. Like, it wasn't like a usual sci-fi thing. It's not like, oh, it's just evil and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So I like all that you're uncovering it as they are. Like, I love that sort of thing. I just wish they did more of it because, like, in the later seasons, it became so much more human politic focused, and
Yes.
I feel like the
Yeah.
balance was a bit more like even, like in the first few seasons, and then it became more human at the end. And I was like, come on, like, give me a bit more mystery.
I liked the mystery of it. That was the coolest thing. The part where on that one station where all hell broke loose.
Oh yeah,
That was wow, man, that was awesome.
yeah,
That was really good.
yeah. That was very
And
unexpected. You see, that was like, oh, okay, how is it doing that? Yeah.
exactly. And then there was other stuff like how on Ganymede, and
Oh,
that was
right.
when the Marines, the Martian Marines were on Ganymede.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. I was like, what is that? And it was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. Whoa.
I love how they're really faithful to space warfare, though. It's just from a range, it's probably going to be missiles, anything closer, railgun or point fence, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
the railguns when they're defending themselves, the ones around the Martians planet, and they managed to take them all out. I thought that was really awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had quite a bit of good natural tension. Didn't feel like it was forced.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't forced, and that's what I really liked about it.
Mm.
I want to read the books, but the I started reading the first one. I'm not that far into it because I got super busy. But the books, I mean, it does track pretty closely to the show, from what I can see, and it's just awesome. I think it sets the bar on sci-fi going forward. Like I think there are tropes now that you can't ignore if you write sci-fi because it's spelled out. I mean, this is really like this is how it's going to be. This is like what the technology will be. So if you want to stick to physics, I mean, they did their homework, and this is pretty much what where we're going to be. So you can like create warp drive and you can do all that stuff if you want to, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing anything within a range of a few hundred years from now, like the Expanse pretty much sets the trope.
Yeah. And like they also provide a good demonstration that yes, you can do realistic sci-fi and keep it woo-woo, like, you know, in the right places, and
Yeah,
it's still interesting. If you go realistic, it doesn't have to be boring, like a master's students just talking about physics equations the whole time. So
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, that's the geekiness of Star Trek. It was all just, in Star Trek Next Generation, especially, it was all just, LaForge would always be talking about all the, the science and everything, and it was all like pseudoscience. It was, I mean, they did some homework, but it was like
mm,
they really like kind of just, projected out and reached out and, made up stuff. But the Expanse pretty much kept it as really close to home. It was really good.
I love the part when I forget her name, the leader of the Earth, goes, "What's the delay?" And they're like 4 hours something. And she's like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I love the fact that they put the actual time into the distances involved.
yeah. That was really
exactly.
interesting. Yeah, because there's points in that, I think, in the later seasons. It's not a spoiler, but it's like they're saying, "Oh, that came back quickly. They must be really close. Like, they can't be at the place where they said they were because that came back quickly." And they're like, "Oh, right, yeah," because it's a distance thing. That was cool.
Yeah, there's no like subspace or any of that stuff that they made up.
Yeah,
It's an actual like this is the distance light travels, and we're using light to communicate, and that's that's how long it takes. And it was pretty crazy. Yeah, so Officer Allah was right on that one. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think
That was really good.
she was one of my favorite characters. I think
Yeah, I love her.
because I like
That
the
actress who played her is
yeah,
beautiful. I mean, wow.
I like the calm badassery. That's what I like.
Yes.
Because it shows that you can
Yeah.
be emotionally sensitive while also just so destructive.
Exactly.
Very ruthless. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Ruthless.
it's such. I hate it so much. Such a typical character trope, and I guess it is realistic in a way, where like the most powerful people are just like completely emotionally dead, like with like no sensibility whatsoever. And maybe, yeah, maybe there are some people like that in real life, but you know, you just don't get enough of those characters that can actually be like genuinely nice people and also like really like kick ass with it. So
Exactly. I mean, the way she is with Gunny, and
Mm.
and just it's just she's so intrinsically human
mm,
that like that her adversary, her political adversary, he's more just I don't know, just typical,
yeah,
ruthless,
don't make any
ruthless.
expression whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where she's
Almost like a
a lot
robot.
more dynamic.
Mm.
It's one of the few. So I don't generally rewatch anything. If I've watched a film, I'm like, nah, maybe ask me in a decade, and I might watch it for nostalgia's sake or something. But I'm not someone who can sit down and watch something several times. The Expanse is one of those things. The second time I watched it, I caught so much more than the first time because there's so many times they go quite deep, and you
Mm.
don't necessarily notice all of that depth until you sit down for a second time, already knowing the major story arc, and then you start to notice all the little things. But yeah,
That's an interesting thing
Yeah.
about rewatching stuff. I've noticed when I rewatch films, I skip over all like the important bits, like all the dramatic bits. Like if it's like an alien film, I'll watch everything, and then whenever the alien attacks someone, I'll just skip past it. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been through that tension before. I just want to see like literally everything else.
Exactly.
you should do a supercut of Alien without the alien.
Yeah. I wanna
Without the aliens.
I want
It'll
to
be most of the film though.
yeah, I want to see the environments. I want to pay attention to the dialogue. I want to see like all the cool stuff in between. You know, the weird liminal spaces, the kind of stuff that maybe Arcollect will put on their Twitter account. You know, like just like weird, funky pictures of environments, whatever.
I find that as well with games as well. Often going off the beaten path and just exploring, especially with some of the beautiful games out there now. Cyberpunk is one of those games that I wouldn't play for its storyline or gameplay, but it's a very pretty game. And just going off and cranking the graphics settings up, it doesn't matter if you've got a few frames per second because you're there taking in a vista rather than trying to play.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about development nowadays. With game development, it's like the artists are almost never like at fault or blamed for anything because I feel like, and it might be a bit of a controversial thing, I feel like they have the easier job, right? Because like
We can blame them for something. That's why Warzone is so freaking big.
okay, yeah, story. Okay, sizes, but again, is it really their fault because they just export it and then I don't know, but
8K everything.
I feel like they get the funner job or the easier in quote job, because like the results are so obvious when it comes to something like the gameplay programming and whatnot. And I do feel like there are some pitfalls that probably every development team falls into in the way that they're not recycling code properly, so they just encounter the same problems again and again and again and again. And it's like issues like that aren't really a problem in the art space. You open something up, you make something cool. Sure, you have to maybe run through some passes to optimize it and get it to work, and but at the end of it, you've got like something that's easy to understand, something visual. Just plonk, there you go. We've made something that looks cool. Let's fit it in the engine. Just done.
I suppose one of the other things, especially on the game development side, is the reuse of assets. Because ultimately, especially if you're going for a fixed platform, and even the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are very powerful and capable machines these days, but you're still in a position where optimizing is still somewhat necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, even with something like is it Nanite?
Yeah.
With Unreal Engine 5,
Mhm.
that still needs to be optimized. So there's this sort of like you probably heard it, where in certain game development circles they're now saying, oh well, it doesn't matter about you just create your artwork, you make it as high poly as you like, and Unreal Engine will sort it out. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
There's still a ton of optimization that needs to be done. And why waste all that back end time when you could just optimize the model? And it certainly won't help too much with characters and animations and deformation. But then you've got is it MetaHuman? Is that the
Yeah.
Unreal backed one, the Epic backed one? I mean, that's phenomenal. But what happens when you want not a realistic character? All of these things are great if you're just going for 100% realism. And the same's true of Quixel Megascans. Again, all of this is free to use, and Epic keep buying up more and more of these type of things. But you end up in this position where, sure, you can create a realistic looking game. But what happens when you want to make something a bit more stylized? All of that just goes out the window.
It does.
I mean, you could potentially use some as a base mesh or something along those lines. But even then, with MetaHuman, there's probably license clauses saying you can't use this as a base mesh to develop something else from.
That's all interesting, but I feel like the virtualized geometry systems are a bit late, because I feel like we should have had this kind of tech like 10 years ago. But that's just one of the really annoying things about the game industry.
So Nanite, or whatever it's called, I forget.
Yeah,
I forget all of that technology in Nanite. Because Nanite's an actual downloading client, which is really awesome. But that's aside. So Nanite, when it's actually been about for a while. It's Unreal's, Epic's implementation in Unreal 5 of NVIDIA's technology that's been around for about 4 or 5 years. Just no one picked up on it, and I think part of that's to do with how quickly you can get data off of a disk, because if you're streaming all of this data, you do need like 6 or 7 gigabytes worth of bandwidth every second in order to stream in those assets, and that's now possible with today's technology, whereas in the past they had to do optimizations like where on a CD you'd have to store assets at specific locations multiple times, sort of PS4, PS3 era, just so that it could load them quick enough as it was going around. I mean, I don't know how you would figure that out. I mean, kudos to the software engineers for solving the problem with duplication, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's interesting as well. One of the other limitations of the virtualized geometry is that it only really works on static meshes. So that's a pretty big limitation as well. Especially considering, well, I would hope that games are becoming a bit more innovative. And the static, it would be quite a limiting term, should we say. I can imagine all sorts of weird space simulation like games doing all kinds of weird new types of coordinate systems and mechanics that would love to use a system like that, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to because geometry keeps moving, and things like that. So there'll need to be more clever solutions.
I think as ray tracing and that becomes more standardized. I mean, at the moment it is possible on different architectures, but really RTX cards are the only ones that can really do it at the moment. But you wouldn't want to design your game to have that feature set if it cannot be reproduced, especially on consoles. They're AMD based graphics, so you're in this kind of awesome place with hardware, but not everybody has access to it. I mean, I don't know what the Steam poll says in terms of gaming cards at the moment, but RTX cards are probably in the top 5% or so. So you can't really design a game for only 5% of all players. You've got to really broaden it out. So the thing like the real-time lighting, that can only really be done with those newer cards. Very recently, I've started playing Metro Exodus, and I only picked it up because they had remastered it with the ray tracing, and my word, it's so much more atmospheric with it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet. I want to give it a try. I played the other Metro games.
I haven't.
I
love the latest one. Yeah, I wanted to. I've got all the other ones, but
I love Super Metroid. I played that in college. I stole the Super Nintendo from my brother and brought it with me. I just played the. Oh man, that was great. That was a great game.
Nice.
By today's standards, it looks archaic, but it's so much fun. It's the platformer. It's just incredible fun.
I mean, you say that with archaic graphics and stuff. I've played a load of old games because I love revisiting them, and I find it's like watching low resolution TV. If you've got like an old copy of The Simpsons or something along those lines, and it's all blocky because you recorded it on VHS or whatever, and you've got this blockiness to it. But given maybe half an hour or so, the human brain's awesome. Your brain just filters all of that nonsense out, and I find that the same with game. I replayed Half-Life for like the 6th time, but
Half-Life
space out.
Half-Life is just so much fun.
Yeah.
It's got a great storyline. The graphics are absolutely rubbish compared to today. I mean, talk about polygons everywhere, sharp edges all over the place. But given, I don't know, as I say, about half an hour, your brain just switches off. It goes into, you kind of get absorbed into the game, and suddenly those graphical things, whilst they're really nice to have, you realize that they don't affect the core gameplay. It's still a good game at its heart, and so it's very, very playable.
There's another thing about that, which is that I feel like if the gameplay feels smooth, and in Half-Life it definitely feels smooth, right? Like in a lot of places,
very much so.
Yeah, then it doesn't really matter what it looks like because you feel like you still feel good playing it. I feel like there are other games that are not like. There are probably like a lot of platforming games out there, you know, where you jump off the wrong angle and you fall, and you're just like, oh, like if only they had used a more modern control scheme, but. Yeah, no, totally. Like I played through Half-Life a few times. I really like it. Yeah, I wish. Oh, I'm not even gonna say it. I hope they do a third one.
What, Half-Life 3?
Yeah. How many times have people said that now?
Half-Life 3 confirmed on BlenderNest right here, right now.
Oh god.
I bought Half-Life Alyx over Christmas. I still haven't got to play it, but I did move my room around to make space for the VR again.
Ah, okay. I can also see your space station behind you there as well.
Yeah. Well, there. No.
Oh,
it's mirrored.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome. So that was a Christmas present last year. I finally got. I was like, right, a year has passed. I'm making it. My son helped me out, and he was really awesome with making solar arrays. He's like, I've got to make 8 of these, and I was like, yeah. Oh, that's the bag you chose. Get on it.
Yeah, it was funny. It's funny looking at the picture you sent because I was like, it just looks like a mini Michael.
He is definitely
awesome.
mini me.
Yeah.
Kev, I said I'd tell you a funny story about the Saturn V. So I'd made it. I actually built that with my daughter, and we spent probably about 5 days in total building it up. She was only like 6 at the time, and she was shorter than it when it was fully built. And she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Be really careful with it because it comes apart. The stages actually separate." And I was like, "Look, it's really awesome," and went, and stage 3 at the top wasn't on securely, and it fell off, hit hard floor, and smacked over the ground. And I was like, "You see, this is when Daddy says don't play with the toys. This is the stuff that happens.
This is what happens."
I was just like, no.
Oh,
the hubris of it all.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's pretty sturdy
awesome.
though. It only broke into like 500 pieces instead of like
only 500.
Only 5. Oh, phew.
Smash. It was the hard floor though. If only it had landed on the sofa, but no, hard floor went under the sofa, went under everything.
Or if you just had carpeting.
Or the rug. There was a rug it could have landed on, but no.
It could have landed on a rug.
Oh my god.
But no.
So for getting other people back in the group, I've been thinking about it again, but it's always that weird thing because BlenderNest is a very slow growing thing anyway, because it's like not
slow.
Yeah, it's not a serious thing, and there's no like monetary incentive or whatever investment and otherwise. But also because we built a little family, it's like you don't want to disrupt the family. You know, it's like if you bring someone in that doesn't gel right, and then maybe. You know, or I've always got the thing in the back of my head that's like, oh, even if people say they're happy, that some people might not want to take part anymore, like because of that. And it's like, well, so you don't want to disturb it, but you also want it to grow. And it's like, well,
it's true, yeah.
But I don't know.
I think once you reach maybe 8-9 people, because we definitely have had busy times, you definitely need an MC at that point. Otherwise, it's oh, raise my hand, and things like that. Because otherwise, you just like the three of us, we can end up accidentally talking over one another because it's difficult, especially with international delay and everything. When you've got India, Los Angeles, and Australia, and the UK all bouncing off one another, there can be like 2 or 3 seconds of delay, and it just ends up a big. No, you go first. No, you go first.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
it can. Yeah.
And we could always think of. I know we've mentioned this in the past, and perhaps you there, you can give us some suggestions, some things you want us to talk about. Perhaps I mean there are certain things that go on. We won't always catch all of it. You know, perhaps a new add-on comes out that one of us has played with, or something along those lines. Could do a little bit of a news session and things like that. What we've been up to, those are things. There's loads of ways that we can mix it up. I wouldn't want it to be commercialized as such, because then it's then the focus changes too much. But yeah, I think there's certainly other regions we can branch out in, especially since we've got Kev with his industry experience. Be lovely to get Blender Bob on if he's around as well.
Oh,
He's got more experience than I do. That guy's got wow. He's he was doing it while I was still he's got at least 3 or 4 years on me.
He's got some serious chops on him. Yeah,
he does. He's the real deal. Like when he talks about something, people should listen.
So, well, in the spirit of like community stuff and like talking about other people's work, I want to give a shout out to Jan van den Hemel, the guy behind Blender Secrets, because the amount of videos,
that guy, yeah,
like, oh my god, how does he keep doing stuff? Jesus Christ! The size of his ebook, if you don't know what it is, the Blender Secrets ebook, is just immense, like thousands of pages. I think it's over 1,000 of just like pure Blender tips. And he's got a YouTube channel that's over 100,000 subs. And he's got like this massive Twitter account as well. And he shares lovely, like 1:1 aspect ratio short videos showing like really cool tips for Blender. And it's really impressive what he's built. So yeah, check him out if you're interested.
He's really good. I've had some exchange with him too. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is nice.
But he's really on top of the Blender. I mean, his stuff is his channels and books and he's got a little empire of like completely useful tips and knowledge. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I believe he also teamed up with CG Boost for a little while and provided some tips on their mailing list, but he doesn't do that anymore, I think. But it was like really nice while he did it, and I think when he stopped doing it, he gave like a goodbye like email, and it was this whole like really nice community thing. I think I'm affiliated with him because I mentioned it. I actually mentioned it in the new video as well, which should be coming out tomorrow. Which won't be tomorrow when people watch this, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, he's
already
really cool.
out.
Yeah, already out. Whee. It depends how quick someone edits it. Paul edits these pretty quickly. That's actually he's really good at that.
He's
Thanks,
been
Paul.
awesome.
Yeah,
thank you, Ryan King Art, and he puts out quite a few things and doesn't seem to get much traction out there. But some of his stuff is pretty good. He's a pretty nice guy. He's like reached out to me before.
Yeah, he reached out to me as well, I think, and he wanted some advice, so I gave him some. He doesn't really make YouTube videos, but Emiliano Collentoni, someone I like, because he introduced me to the generative modeling stuff way back. That was really cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think Brent Patterson, I want to give a mention to, because he's like he got me, him along with Gleb and Mark Kingsnorth got me interested in all the Nebula stuff, and like he does really cool experiments, so I've been following him for a while. His son also, by the way, had a brain tumor, I believe. So it's mostly cleared up now, I think. Actually, I think he's in the clear. Yeah, so he was going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So like he was providing updates on Twitter like in the previous years about that. And I don't usually give to charity, but I did give because of that. Because so I want to give a shout out to him. Yeah, he teaches Blender to his classes. So yeah, a really cool guy. I'd like to meet him someday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Derek Elliot met up with him somewhat recently as well. I want to meet Derek as well. Like,
yeah, Derek's cool.
He has the pristine. I mean, he gets this so much because, like, when I've been in the calls with him before with CG Matter, he gets it so much, doesn't he? The Matthew McConaughey voice. He's got.
Oh, he does.
He just sounds identical. Sorry, Derek. all right.
I'm sure he doesn't mind.
Yeah.
Or he gets it a lot and he's used to it by now.
Yeah.
Daniel Krafft reached out to us a couple of years ago now, I think, and we just did this competition, and I think it's still up on Daniel's channel where we went head to head.
Oh, I think I remember watching that.
Yeah, I did this like kind of like Borg taking over virus cells, and he did the Star Trek thing. And it was a cool video that we all put together, and we all had like a chat on the phone before that, and so it was, or through Discord. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's nice.
I was
Yeah, Derek is nice.
I wanted to meet up with Josh Gambrell in Florida, but I didn't end up having enough time. It was a little bit complicated because I had my grandparents out there as well, and we were kind of like set back a couple of days because the house had cockroaches, so we need to get that cleaned up, and it was like the whole thing was a bit messy. But yeah, maybe next time I'm out there. And Southern Shotty, by the way, I noticed he's out there as well. Oh, I want to meet him as well.
Is he in Florida?
Yeah, I'm not going to give away exactly where he is, but around the general
Around there.
Yeah.
Around the general Florida area.
Around the general Florida, full stop.
Yeah, I think he dropped off the server. I haven't seen him on here at all. I don't know if he's like going by a different name or not.
Yeah, I think he's been doing all sorts of stuff. I don't know specifically. I thought he moved to San Francisco. But I think, well, he gave me a few more details again. I'm not going to share it, but yeah, I think he's been moving around and I think he's been doing client stuff, and of course he does the Blender update videos as well. You know, whenever they do a full update.
Yeah,
that's good. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, I liked him. He's a nice guy.
I love his animation style as well.
Yeah, it's a really nice style.
Yeah, the kind of
it's something that really does work and is not general, so it's got that uniqueness about it. It may be the sort of stop animation style of it and everything, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah, he's kind of like a kind of like Tim Burton style, but not the dark stuff. Like if like there was an opposite of Tim Burton, like it would be that. It's cool.
That's quite a nice way of putting it.
I like it. Yeah, it's a definitely interesting style. I really like it. When he puts stuff out, I'm like, oh, I want to watch that because it's just pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, he put a
Speaking
lovely...
of putting stuff out.
Yeah, go.
When's your next video coming out, Kev? I want to see it.
What's my next video?
Yeah.
Oh, when's my next video? That's a good question. I don't know. I have one. I have
what's
one.
Gonna be? Early access.
Early access. It'll be another environment one. Yeah, it won't be an alien environment. I have a series. I'm redoing some of my older videos that I used Eevee on, and I'm redoing it in cycles and making it much better. But
Nice.
so I have a one or two more. I think I have one more on deck. But it'll probably be hopefully this week. Although I have to go into the office this week, so during the biggest surge of this virus ever. So I'm kind of a little nervous about that, but hopefully I'll be able to crank it out.
So here's a question for you then, Kev. You said about you're redoing older stuff. I've looked at some of the older stuff that I've done. I'm like, is doing it basically the same thing, but in a newer version of Blender, and perhaps with some bells and whistles chucked on? It always feels I don't like repeating myself. It may come from what we were talking about earlier, where I don't like watching a film twice. But I can see a lot of merit in doing the thing just in the latest version. But equally, I wouldn't want to get caught in kind of doing the same. Like, let's say you had 200 videos, you could quite easily do 200 videos every year that are just the same videos in the new version of Blender each time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, on that point, with my generative modeling crash course, so the last video that went up, the 40-minute one, there's a bit in there where I talk about the old way that we used to do generative modeling, and then I really sped through it, just like all the stuff you can do with modifiers, and almost as if to say you can't do much with it, just by going through it quickly. And the reason I went through it quickly is because I knew I had already done a video about it years ago. But when I think about it, probably the smallest percentage of people that watch this new crash course watch that video. So what I've just done is just left out lots of information just because I didn't feel like talking about it again. So yeah,
yeah, I can point to older videos of mine too, and I do that. I do call outs and I say, hey, check this video. If you want to know this technique more in depth, I have a whole video on how I did this.
Yeah.
And you can do that when you have a library of stuff. But I also find too, to address your question, Michael, that I think that the older stuff, didn't have that many views, and when you bring it up and you use a different engine, and because all of that stuff that I did in Eevee, I would do differently for cycles, and I would do better. Because that stuff was just kind of like low hanging fruit stuff, previs type stuff or low hanging fruit, for beginners. Where I think that the community seems to be moving pretty fast, and I don't know where that break point is anymore. But I seem to get the ice video is doing pretty well generally. I mean,
Actually,
I'm kind of happy with it. So
yeah, I think you raise a good point there. I think I fall into the fallacy of anybody who's watched a video of mine will watch the other video, so it can't be a reference to an old video. That YouTube might have buried that old video, even though you've got it there. Yet, if you produce a new one, it will be exposed to a new set of people, even though it might be, a 1-to-1, but in a different version of Blender. So
exactly.
perhaps there's that exposure and that being buried by the YouTube algorithm that you can also chuck out, because after, I don't know, maybe 18 months, a video becomes nearly worthless until the YouTube algorithm goes, "Oh, I'll show this to everybody 7 years later."
Exactly. And it's the most bizarre thing because like you'll go back on people's channels and you realize like, like when you're growing, you're not getting that many views unless you have a breakout video. So for me, I mean, there's still different videos. Like I have two Arctic environment videos now. One is vastly superior to the other. The other is a quick Eevee, previs looking thing. And the other one is like, more toward like 80% to a final shot, and
Yeah.
so I don't have a like so like the next video I'm doing is going to be a way better version of an older video that I did, and it'll be obvious, and that video is kind of buried in there. And then I'll probably do some more alien environment stuff because I like that stuff.
Because we can't get away from it. We always come back to
We
it.
we can't. I'll do some like more gore or grosser or like organic stuff coming too. I have a whole list of things that I want to do now, and especially because I have the ability to do scenes at massive scale.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I lose a lot of people on that because the Blender community, they love Blender so much, and there always are the people who want to branch out to other software to be able to do their shots or their artwork or their Instagram stuff or whatever they're doing. But I branch out because I use these different pieces of software. Like I use Houdini for freelance and at my day job, and I brought in Clarice because it's just I couldn't get a graphics card at the time, and I don't want to pay scalper prices. So I was like, all right, let's check this out. So I picked that up on a Black Friday deal, and I've never been happier. Honestly, like I'm like, this is it's a relatively fast renderer, and it
Yeah.
does it at scale. I mean, I can handle billions of polygons at the same time. It's like Blender Bob said, it's like alien technology. I mean, it's just incredible. But putting those in the videos is always it's always like a crapshoot because it's like, all right, I mean, am I going to lose my audience here because I'm using different software? I don't know. But then part of my rebrand was going away from just pure Blender because
Yeah.
I wanted to do other things. I still use Blender as part of my pipeline always, but I also use it in conjunction with other things, and I just kind of like doing it.
Yeah.
I've had that issue in previous courses that I've done, where we're either doing simulation or we're doing particle systems, as in hair, and you start applying physics to it. The moment you start those two things, if you it's one of those sad things. If you've got like a dual core or an i3 or something along those lines, an older machine, and it doesn't really matter what graphics card you have at this point. If you don't have the RAM, hard drive space, and processor to crunch through all of those numbers, you're dead in the water. You could follow along with me. That's wonderful, but you're going to have a hard time when we go simulate, when we press that bake button mine might take 30 minutes, and it might take a student like 8 to 10 hours to do exactly the same thing. So there's that kind of balance point there. During any new courses that I do, especially when it comes to particle systems or simulations, smoke simulation, water, whatever, they all come with a caveat at the beginning. You usually list a requirement to learn, and usually it's just a computer capable of running Blender. It's like, no, you're going to need some chunky specs to do simulation properly.
Exactly. And you could fake stuff. Like there's always
Yeah.
like, put smoke on a card, on
Yep.
with transparency. You take a video, it's with an alpha, and you just throw it on some cards, and you have distant smoke
Yeah.
and stuff. It never looks as good, but at the same time, like it depends on where the camera is and
What the
where
focal
the
point is, all the rest of it. Yeah.
yeah, like where the focus of the shot is and stuff. Where you're not gonna, you can get away with it, and that people have been doing that for years in games and TV and stuff. But if you want like proper sims, oh man, you're looking at. I mean, I max out 128 gig pretty easily,
A
and
few
I'm
years ago, I
yeah,
had a giant sphere, and then I think it was about 30,000 with children interpolated cubes because they were so small. And I set them all off, and they orbited around, and made a Saturn essentially. And it was
wow,
awesome. And I went to go
yeah,
save my file. I was like, I should have probably saved by now. Saved it, and Blender started doing the circle of death, and I was like, and then I just went, sod it. I go off. Came back later, and it was working again. I thought, awesome. Had a look at the blend file. The blend file was 270 gigs. That's why it was taking a
wow,
while to save.
wow.
Oof.
And I was like, this is why you keep your cache data separate to your blend file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I find that a lot of these techniques, I can't get a read on the community. I mean, I think the community is pretty varied as far
Yeah.
as skill level and as far as need and as far as, interest. Okay, if you look at Houdini users, they're generally like pretty focused. They're industry focused. Like they're either in the industry and they're transitioning into Blender for jobs, or they're students wanting to get into visual effects, and it was like so there's a definite target
Mm.
audience, and you can read their interest pretty well. Blender is so big and so varied and has so many different applications that
Yeah.
like I don't I it's hard to read because it's so varied. You look at the stuff like what Ian does, and we bring up Ian a lot because he's just kind of an anomaly out there. Just doing all these like cool tricks to be able to do you know pretty big looking shots.
He's an
On
amazing madman. He really
a
is.
like a Pentium 2. Like you could dig up a Pentium 2 from 20 years ago, and it would probably still work. Whereas the stuff that you see in like a Marvel movie,
Mm.
that stuff, that take like the buildings crashing down and all that stuff and all the debris flying around and stuff like that. At that scale, you need like a lot of power. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Because you lose half your audience when you say you need a powerful computer, like right off the bat. But
Yeah.
to do a movie like to do the stuff that ILM does, you need the heavy lifting.
You really do.
You can't really fake it. I mean, you can fake it, but it's not gonna look
Well,
that way.
take a spaceship coming in, flying through atmosphere, and you want the clouds to actually move out of the way of the ship as it comes through. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you could totally fake that by manually animating smoke, sort of like in the vortex as it goes
Hmm.
past, and you
You
might
could.
actually be able to create an amazing job of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, um, you would probably do better to have the simulation running. And then the tools
Exactly.
come in. I will hold my hand up and say, if you're wanting to do this in Blender, it's going to take you a lot longer than if you choose a different engine. I don't know if Houdini could do this in a heartbeat with GPU volumetrics and everything, but I would imagine it probably can.
It would still
And then
take a
you can
while to
bring it.
take out. Yeah.
It will still, yeah, that's the thing. Even though there's probably a better tool, you still need the resources to do it. So it's always a challenge. And as you were saying, the breadth of what Blender does is also kind of its downfall as well, because it does everything really well most of the time. I won't say
does.
it does its physics well, not all the
The
time.
physics,
Simple.
yeah, the physics. But
It could do with a rewrite with the physics, and I'm sure that's in the pipeline at some point in the future. And that's
I'm
one of
sure
the
it is.
beautiful things about Blender. It's kind of always up to date on the bleeding edge, and I think that really brings a lot of newcomers in. But the downside, as I say, with the breadth of knowledge, ArcViz is completely different to still life, is completely different to hard surface modeling, and some of these have crossovers and combines, but they can be completely different, almost disciplines, really. Yes, you're using a 3D engine to do it. Oh, and grease pencil, I'm not going to forget
Yeah.
that, because that's amazing what you can do once you
Oh
pass
my
the
God,
concept
it's
stage,
awesome.
bringing it
Yeah,
in
it's
to
phenomenal.
Blender and being able to light up a scene with 2D work as well, and just mix between the two. That's amazing.
It
I mean,
is.
that is, if you're into that sort of thing, if you're into your
Yeah.
ArcViz, it's probably not going to be so much.
And that's where I think the audience is like super segmented. So like if you were gonna do ArcViz, like I wouldn't like Houdini wouldn't be my first choice at all for ArcViz. I mean, yeah, you can build buildings procedurally and do some really cool stuff, but I would use GeoNodes in Blender and do the same thing if I wanted proceduralism. I would use Blender for ArcViz, honestly. Like people use 3D Studio Max or
Yeah.
they were using Rhino for a while or something, but Blender's perfect for that. And I wouldn't, I would start with Blender because the modeling is just, it's so much more fun. It's honest, like,
I would
easier,
even
faster.
say something like, is it still called SketchUp? It used to be
Yeah.
Google.
SketchUp.
Went to
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they moved it
but
online or something for some reason.
Yeah,
yeah. It's so weird.
probably so that they've got people's data.
Yeah.
You know what it's like these
Exactly.
days. I want your data. Put your email here, please.
Exactly.
But yeah, I started off doing a few tutorials on SketchUp and moved over to Blender when I realized I needed more capability. But I still fell back to SketchUp when it came to, oh, well, let's make a quick room, because of the way that it's, I can't remember what type of modeling it uses. I think it's based more upon a NURBS based system, so you
Yeah,
can just
I
cut
think it
holes
is.
in things, and you don't need to, because it's mathematically generated, you don't need to worry about horrible shading because you cut a hole in something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You can just
And
like
that
push
was
extrude
awesome.
something to make a hole. Just like boop. There
Yeah.
you go, you're gone.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, done.
There's- yeah, and I think Blender added that functionality, but it's not quite as easy as SketchUp was. That was when I first played with SketchUp. I was like, "This is insane." So for ArcViz, yeah, that would be really cool. But still, there's a lot in Blender that I would just choose over almost everything else, and I would do, I would do that work in Blender. Like I do like
Yeah.
I do a lot of like the biomedical
Yeah.
and pharmaceutical jobs that I do on the side. And I started off in Blender. And if I need to do a simulation like cell death or something, I would pull that into Houdini. But Blender is just it's a workhorse, man. It's a Swiss Army knife,
Yeah.
and it's a damn good one. Blender's the Swiss Army knife that's like that really thick one, like the one that like MacGyver doesn't even use because it's too thick. Like it just has everything in it.
Yeah, talking about like going back to the point about being worried whether your audience will follow along with you if you want to try different things. It is weird from the perspective of the creator, right? Because you kind of have this idea that your audience carries through with you and they're part of like the narrative, like of the content you make. But it's almost like a different person's watching every video you make, even if it's like related to the last thing you did. Because I do worry about
Yeah.
it. Like, again, in the recent video edited today, I apologize like when I mentioned the Biogen add-on, like again, because like, oh yeah, sorry, I keep plugging my thing, but then that's probably like the first time people have heard about it, like for a large chunk of it, but he still can't help but feel a bit apologetic.
I know what you mean. I wouldn't apologize for it. It's a wonderful tool. Here's the plug.
Yeah.
Go bye, Jay.
I did, to make it a bit funny, there was a bit where I apologized, and then I had Ryan Reynolds doing like a little winky look, like it replaced my face for a very brief moment, and like, it was just, I couldn't help it. Anyway, but yeah, like it's a constant worry. But I do think about, because I've been playing with Unity again, and I'm like, well, if I want to do a video that's in Unity, will people really worry? And I don't think they will, because I did Unreal videos, and no one cared.
Yeah.
Like everyone was fine with it. Didn't have a single there was not a single make Blender video like comment like in any of the Unreal ones whatsoever. And one of them like
That's cool.
did pretty well. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's nice. So people don't mind. But I think something that helps as well is maybe changing the narrative of the channel from you can make this to I have made this or I am making this.
Yes.
So that's something that
That's pretty much what I did.
yeah. So
I think a great example of that for you, Curtis, was when you did your LiDAR with your phone.
yeah,
Because really that was about capturing photogrammetry. It wasn't necessarily about using Blender. You just happened to use Blender in the video.
yeah, that's exactly it.
I reckon you could have replaced Blender with any other 3D program that could have taken that data in, and it would have probably done just as well.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean,
That's another. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say I've kind of like started moving things in that direction. Been doing it on and off for like I guess the past year. But I feel like that's the key to kind of slowly getting your audience in the nick of like, oh, I'm curious to see what he does next, regardless of what it is. You know, like he always does something interesting and different. I just want to see what it is. So you know, like if I did a video that was like, oh, I made I don't know, like Boris Johnson out of macaroni art or something. You know,
Next video.
Yeah, I feel like people would probably watch it, like just with the title, if it was had a weird thumbnail, just because I mean, it's not Blender related at all. But like they, like you know, they've watched me make Blender stuff, and they thought, oh, it's pretty cool. He does some weird stuff every now and again, so I just want to have a look, you know.
I would leave that on loop.
Oh my god. Yeah, especially nowadays.
A really good question.
As long as it's a Christmas macaroni, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a really good question on that though is that once you reach, like 80 to 100,000 subscribers, like you do get like a core group of your subscribers that'll watch your video when it comes out, and those are the people that they either get the notifications or they check your videos and they check your channel, and that's your core audience, and it's always a pretty small fraction of your general subscriber base. Yeah. So they push your video out there. But if you look at your stats, like I would think most of your views are coming from either search or browse features.
Yeah, browse features.
So like when you first publish your video, it's coming in from notifications, and then it like pushes it out to a larger, different chunk of YouTube. So I think if you like, you can keep changing because it's as long as your stuff is going to be found by search, you're going to get the views, and then you're going to get the people who are interested in that topic.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier on today as well. Like, I guess I've always felt with the channel that I might want to change direction at any moment, right? And just like, oh, maybe one day I'll just get really frustrated doing regular Blender tutorials and just jump to something new. And I thought, well, I've always felt like I could probably do that at any time, given the size. But then I thought, wait, if I'm subscribed to someone that's got like 100 or 200,000 subs, I sub to them for a reason. And it'd be like if one of them suddenly started doing Irish dancing, I think I'd find that really weird. But also, I reserve the right to change.
Well,
you do.
Take I think Tom's a great example of this when he was doing his hand pan. Yeah, still got lots of people watching it, and I think if it's something adjacent and something that you're into yourself, which is obviously what you're going to do, you're not just going to go off and do something completely random.
Yeah.
But if it's something to do with you and it's almost like a vlog, and you do it like one out of 10, 15, 20 times, whatever. It just adds that personal connection to the rest of the content that you're creating. I mean, one of my best videos was when I was running around my own home like a nut, rendering on 5 different computers in the household, and it was just something I thought, oh, this would be a fun video to do. I was literally bored, and I thought, well, why don't I document what I'm currently doing, but do it in a crazy way? And I'm running around with the phone in my hand, doing spins around the house. Because that way you keep your house somewhat private as you spin, because everything just goes blurred.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a lot of the comments were like, "Oh, that was fun to watch," rather than informative to watch. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, I can't keep running around my house. That would just, but maybe I can. Who knows?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
experimenting so much with that. Like, I think I had the video, don't watch this video. And then there was like, there was a bunch of other ones and the NFT ones. And I've tried like serious discussions, random vlogs, funny, completely random, wacky stuff. And completely random, wacky does okay. Things that are very topical, like NFTs, do okay. Serious discussions are dead. Like, if I'm being honest, like, the things that I think are really valuable for people, like regular discussions, no one cares about. I mean, some people do, but just relatively speaking, they don't do that well at all, which is a shame, because I'd love to talk about serious subjects like that, but they just have no growth factor. Like, they just don't get shared. I mean, it's okay because I like doing silly, wacky kind of vlogs. Like, I like being random. That's fun. No complaints there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, if I could change what the audience watches, then I would. But like, you can't take it for granted. Just having people watch content you make anyway. And it also reminds me, I watched, again, going back to Matthew McConaughey. He's like, every possible podcast he can do, he's on. Like, every possible chat show he can do, he's been on. Like, the last year or two. I don't know why or how, but I wouldn't be surprised if we asked Matthew McConaughey, it'd probably come on BlenderNest. But I've seen him like everywhere, like even on small places. And there was a really good chat he had with Rhett and Link, the YouTubers, because they have a podcast called Ear Biscuits. And I watched that episode, and one thing I really liked was they talked about resenting your own work because it prevents you from adapting, right? Which is kind of what we're talking about. And he said that he really used to feel that way. He actually did something really brave, which was he got known for doing rom-coms, I think it was. And
romantic comedies,
and he said he had a really hard discussion with his wife, and he said, I can't do them anymore because I don't want to be known for that. And he said work did not come. Like, he said he wasn't going to do it, and like, he really stuck by it, and it got really, really difficult because the offers kept going up in price and nothing else was coming except for rom-coms. And it was like I think it was like a year or 2 years or like 3 years or something, like without any proper jobs. And so it was really hard. But he said one thing that he's kind of figured out for himself is that you cannot resent like what people know you for. Instead, you need to own it, because like, it's what people appreciate you for. Like, why would you resent it? It's not like you're just being an arsehole to the work or to the people that appreciate you for it. It's like you're just being an arsehole to yourself. Like, this, you should be proud of it. Like, say yes, I did that. Yeah, that's why you know me. By the way, I'm doing this as well, but thank you for appreciating, what I've done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
it takes a lot of confidence sometimes to be able to be vulnerable enough to do that. That's the big leap for most people.
So it's like, you can't, obviously there are, as like creatives, any creative always has like something they'd like, a major thing they'd want to do, which, let's be realistic, most people probably won't care about, but they want people to care about because it's like, oh, that'll be like, oh, that's the big passion thing, that's the golden thing. Everyone has that, and I feel like most creatives that get somewhere probably always feel like they're being held back in some way, I'm pretty sure that, I was trying to think of like an example, but I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. Is it okay? Did Zac Efron do High School Musical? Is that something? Is he the one that did that? I was gonna.
Did he do High School? I have to look it up. I don't know.
If I was much more fluid with this, I would have said, oh, like, I'm pretty sure Zac Efron feels like he's been held back by all these musical films, because wasn't he in The Greatest Showman as well? I'm sure he'd want to do something.
He was in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd want to do something like much more. I haven't seen him like in anything else. I'm sure he probably gets typecasted a little bit as well, I imagine. But sorry, not trying to throw Zac Efron under the bus. Like, it could be anyone, right? I wanted to just find anyone. a funny one to throw out there, but it didn't work because I second guessed myself.
Mark Hamill, he was Luke Skywalker. Like, any other thing that he ever tried to do, he was Luke Skywalker. So he got seriously typecast. He went into voiceovers and just made a killing.
Oh yeah, he's very good at doing the voices. Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. So he just like found his niche, and he was just like, man, I'm there.
Yeah, he's the quintessential Joker voice, isn't he?
Really is.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. Well, so I think yeah, you do as a channel owner, you do kind of have to own what you're doing. So like that's, if I were to do anything else, I'd have to start a separate channel for it.
Yeah.
But I think, if we stick in 3D, we stay in that realm, it does, you're always going to get the people who are like, purists with their software, and they don't want to change, and they'll drop off if they see you doing other things. Like every time I publish a video, I see like right off the bat, I lose like 3 subscribers. I don't know why, I just
Oh
do,
yeah.
but whatever.
But don't
Yeah, I don't know if you
let
guys see
that bother
too,
you.
but
First of all, right?
no, yeah,
The
it doesn't, because yeah.
the subscriber count for like the analytics on those videos, I think, are ludicrously unreliable. I think they've gotten better, but like the last video I put out, the Crash Course one, I put it out, then it was like I lost like 3 subs, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of disappointing. Maybe people are bored of the subject. And then like I go
Yeah.
back to it, and then it's like, oh, you've gained 100 and something subs. Like a couple of days later, I'm like, okay, so you feel bad to start with because you're like people dropped off, and then suddenly you've got like a small town of people that like came along instead.
Exactly. That's what I noticed.
Yep.
That's why it didn't bother me. I'm like, I know that I just see it as like pruning the hedges, right? If you don't, it's like if you don't prune, if you're taking care of a plant and you don't trim it once in a while, like those dead stalks, those like weak dead stalks are still sucking up water, right, from the other stalks. So it's good. If somebody doesn't want to follow you anymore, that's fine. You're not. That's their choice. That's cool. Like,
Purge the
you don't want.
heretics.
Yeah, you don't want people following you who don't want to be there, because it's just not a healthy relationship for either one of you, right? So it's just, be on your way. I wish you well, and that's fine. I don't hold a grudge.
It could quite easily be the YouTube algorithm bot set, they're trying to prune at the same time. It might just happen to be that not only you published that, but you lost 30, however many subscribers, but actually everybody they were ever subscribed to was also lost as they left the platform for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't know, especially if you publish regularly. I mean, you might notice a pattern, or rather irregularly, you wouldn't notice whether there was a pattern or not.
Yeah, and if it's tied to anything like, if that's tied to anything that's, like if it sends out a notification, right, and it pings a user who's not there anymore, it might return back that user's not there as a negative number, as an unsubscribe, even though this is like, oh, we pinged them, they're not on the platform anymore, they're gone. So it might be doing that. I don't know.
Yeah. And
so that's right. That's right. You just hit the nail on that one, definitely.
I'm disappointed that we still have the average graph, because remember when I said they removed it like briefly, and they definitely removed it for me, because I put like a couple of videos up, so that must have been like a 2-week period where like it just wasn't there when you put new videos out, and I felt so much better about myself. Yeah, it was.
Do you mean that chart that grows?
Yeah. When you put it up and you watch it go up, and it was like, and it didn't show anything. It didn't have any average graph. It just said stats will be available in like after an hour or something like that, which it doesn't do usually, because usually you can watch it go up as soon as you put it out. All right. Also about that, let me rant about the watch time metric, because you can see that you do the same as average or better than average with the views, and it's very granular. It's down to individual views. But with the watch time, it does it by hours. So when you look at the average graph, it steps like that, right? So the average graph steps. Yeah, the average graph steps, but your watch time count is a smooth granular graph. So you can keep going in and out of those steps. So when your video is taking off, right, for anyone that doesn't know, you can keep going below average, average, below average, average, below average, average as the graph's going up, which is really annoying, because you want to be average so it gets recommended to more people. So that you can just keep seeing it go, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. I'm like, come on, YouTube, please.
I know.
It's really annoying.
Yeah, it really is. And the worst part of that is doing it on your phone. So I don't know if you guys do that. You probably don't, because I'm like mobile. Like if I'm having to go into the office or something, and I'm coming out and checking my phone, like,
yeah,
are you guys still there?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
boys.
you know, this is crazy because you go out and the YouTube app on the phone sucks. Like it gives you it doesn't suck. Okay, that's disingenuous, but it gives you like a compendium of the average of your entire channel. It's not granular at all.
Yeah.
So like
The
if you
Studio app
if you know
sucks.
if you're looking at specific data that matters and you do that through the web, like on a computer, you could do it on your phone too through like Safari or whatever app, you know, whatever browser you're using, but if you're using the app, it just like mashes all that data together and gives you like one number, and it's not representative of the entire, you know, granular breakdown that you want to be looking at. So like I remember I think it was one video, I think it was like the Matrix one, and I just kept changing the title and I kept changing the thumbnail on my phone because I'm like, my stats suck, this sucks, I hate this. And it turned out that it was actually okay in the stats when I looked on YouTube Studio on, you know, on the computer, because it gives you a wider breakdown. It's more granular, and I made a bunch of, you know, poor decisions on that, but whatever, it was fun. I also think that too, like I didn't realize The Matrix it's an older film, and I guess like, you know, younger people don't really know it as well. And I thought, wow, this is like a super popular film that everybody knows, but they don't. And if you look at it when they released the new Matrix movie, it didn't do that well at all.
Yeah.
At least domestically, it did.
I still haven't seen the new one. Hi, Markom, by the way.
Hey.
Ah, there it is.
Come on, Markom, give us a
Boost.
yes.
Please.
How are you doing?
Good. So, what we discussed last week. Do we remember what we discussed last week?
I remember the Stormtrooper thing. Yes.
It is
Oh,
finished.
the gynecology session.
It's finished.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. When do we get to see it? Is it out?
I'm waiting for Paul.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Paul to do his doctor bit, and then hopefully tonight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love it. Great. I can't wait to see that then.
I worry about myself. Let's just say that.
When I popped onto your stream the other day, I was like, why is there a Stormtrooper in that position?
It's awesome. It's funny.
All right. Well, that's going to be good.
I think it's great.
Can I take
I hope it's going to be good.
Can I take a complete
It's gonna be
tangent of what we've been speaking about? By the way, I've been recording for 1 hour 10 minutes, so we shouldn't go for too much longer. But I do want to get an annoyance and a grievance off my chest, right? Because comments and messages don't usually get to me, but one really pissed me off, right? And it was someone who, after I put out the NFT video, they offered to give me like some info to change my mind, right? And I didn't respond because I don't respond to most of my messages. And then eventually they linked my video somewhere in a tweet where it was like someone was asking for like really bad takes on NFTs. They said, here's a video by Curtis Holt, really like sad about the copyright thing, but he just brings up really bad complaints about how crypto isn't required. So I sent him a message saying, hey, you know, that was kind of rude. And he said, yeah, well, you ignored me. That's kind of rude. I was like, well, look, I can't respond to all my messages. Like, I genuinely can't. You know, if you have information you want to give me, then give it to me now. And we went through this whole thing where he just wasn't giving me info. And then he said stuff about, oh, people, you know, aren't going to watch stuff anyway. Anyway, I said, look, you have an opportunity to help me here. I'm going to read this a bit, and then I'll explain why it pees me off. I'm open to communication, and all you've done is try to make me feel bad, because it was a bit insulting. He said, okay, fair enough, fresh start. I'll send you what I can when I'm back at my desk. Very sorry about the copyright issues. I said, okay, send me what you like, and I'll add it to my, you know, reading/watching list. Please understand, if I don't respond, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. I'm always inundated with messages, mostly emails. Most of that comes from collaboration and product requests. A lot of stuff takes priority because of paying customers, so help requests. I have a lot of tasks to keep track of. I'm the only person keeping the YouTube channel running, only person working all of the products, all the add-ons, or the art projects. And then he said, okay, I will take the time to create you a beautiful list of resources and won't be insulted when your very busy schedule doesn't allow for a response. Dude, forget it. You're so full of yourself that it's going to fall on deaf ears. Good luck out there. And I was like, okay, listen here, Runaway. You just don't want to give me any info about NFTs because you don't have it. And secondly, I got rid of 30 emails today that I didn't respond to, including from Asus, like offering to give me a laptop to do a video.
Yeah.
Right? 30 emails. I had Nvidia on red when he sent me that message, wasting time listening to him, and he's like, oh yeah, you're so full of yourself. Just like, that annoys me. Because they think they're right, like, oh yeah, this guy, he just thinks he's such a big shot. No, I can't f***ing respond to the messages. Like, I hated that so much.
You do. You get saturated at a certain point, whether it's products you're supporting, emails you're dealing with, you will get saturated.
Yeah, you really do.
And of course, you need to be like 200% saturated before you can realistically employ someone to do something else, especially at some point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up with someone there not having a full-time role, which, of course, you get someone in part-time, etc. But yeah, you seriously get saturated very quickly.
Yeah, the thing is that I'm not making enough money to hire someone else full-time to take care of everything. But like you said, I'm at that point where it's already full-time for me. Like beyond full-time, but it's not enough to hire someone else yet. So we're in this point where I'm like oversaturated with stuff. We're in that purgatory zone. So it really pisses me off when someone thinks I'm not telling the truth about that, because I f***ing am. And you should be grateful that I took the time to respond to your stupid NFT comment and you didn't even give me information. I can tell you're a liar. Like, I call them runaway comments, where they talk big, right? But then when it comes to asking them to show anything, they just don't. Like, they either insult you or they have some excuse and then they just stop responding. I'm like, just hate it.
It's like they're just sealioning. They're just
Yeah.
trolls.
Can't
Like,
stand it.
Sealioning.
Yeah,
I've not heard that. I've not heard that before.
It's like sealioning. It's like you just keep asking the same. Like, you just keep asking disingenuous questions after disingenuous questions, just trying to get a rise out of people. Or trying to catch them in something so you can use it against them. It's just crap. It's a trolling technique. It's garbage. But yeah, there's just these people out there that I don't know.
It's funny you should mention that. Yeah, I know someone who does that as his excuse is it's conversation starters. It always gets the conversation flowing. Yeah, but for the wrong reason, because you've just rubbed everybody up the wrong way.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
It's like the, it's like the disingenuous interviewer. They pretend to be coming from the same side you're on, but really they're on the opposite side. But they're just trying to catch you in some
trying to get you to say something that fits their narrative, so they can quote you out of context.
Yes, exactly, and they can use it against you. It's just stupid.
Bit like straw manning,
I don't know.
I guess. Oh, do you mean this?
Straw manning.
No, I don't mean that. So don't try and make it sound like that.
Exactly.
I do feel bad. I feel bad that I can't respond to all the messages, right? If I put everything aside, I can respond to all the messages, but I'll be putting way too much out of the way of like my regular life, because I feel like I really don't have enough free time to look after myself anyway. Like, just enjoying life, mental health, whatever, and I'm still missing out on tons of stuff. And I go back and I look for emails, like when I was cleaning them up today, and there's like people that genuinely just ask for help with stuff or advice. And I'm like, well, I really want to be the good person that responds to that, but they just sent it at the wrong time. Like, I'm on the flight to America. I get the message. When I get off the plane, I'm like jet lagged and trying to get to the house. I've been awake for so many hours. The house is infested with cockroaches. The computer's not set up. I need to upgrade it to Windows 11. And it's like there's days in between, right? And I'm sure that someone's sitting there going, oh, he doesn't like me. It's like, no, there's a life. There's stuff going on. And then you get people that are like, oh, you're so full of yourself. I'm like, you don't understand, man. I'm not like trying to play it up. It's just really freaking hard.
Oh yeah.
So
it's like tweeting, like I'll tweet at like super popular, famous people. Just somebody's birthday, like today's like Lin-Manuel Miranda's birthday. I think that guy's a genius. Like I'll probably just say happy birthday in a tweet. Like, he's never gonna get back to me. I don't care, But when you look down, and you're that person, and you see like 1,000 people or 2,000 people wish you happy birthday, it's kind of just a nice thing. Yeah,
definitely a perspective, definitely an expectation challenge. I mean, I've had it where I've worked out that and fortunately this doesn't happen, but if every student that's bought a course of mine asks a question right now, don't try this. Just reading them and typing the word okay and sending it back, i.e. not actually giving them a formulated answer, would literally take an entire month of me just doing that with no sleep.
Wow.
That's how many hours it would roughly take to actually give formulated responses with screenshots, annotated screenshots as well. It's just not possible if everybody asked at the same time. It would be, well, the end of me.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
A dramatic, the end of me.
And
But it would
that's where
be.
yeah. That's like where your price point has to be high enough to be able to cover that.
I'd love to do one of those random ranty, funny, like vloggy videos, like we mentioned earlier, where I just, because I love doing complaining videos, where I just like show people all the emails and messages that I can't respond to and like apologize, but I can't do that because like a lot of it's like personal info. But oh my god, like I want to make a list.
Hey,
of
we're
all...
British. We're good at that.
Yeah,
We're good at queuing and writing a stern letter of complaint.
yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Has to have the pinky. I
Sorry,
yeah. I'd love to make.
I'm not a tea drinker. I don't drink
next
leaf
week,
water.
Curtis, we've got to both come with teacups.
Leaf water.
With
He
the
calls it leaf water, I
obligatory
love it.
saucer.
I have a Beverly Hills one there. On the, it's a really long one though, so it's not okay. Don't worry.
It has to be Earl Grey as well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
glass
Beverly Hilton, not Beverly Hills. My bad. My mum and dad.
The Beverly Hills.
Yeah, my mum and dad got it as like a little souvenir when they went to the VSE Awards. So, don't worry.
Oh yeah, it's the Beverly Hilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been thinking about making a list of all my recent grievances, including the messages one, and just like doing another video where I just can get it out.
Even if you make that video, but never ever publish it or show anyone, you've still kind of aired your grievances. It's almost like a video diary at that
Yeah,
point.
I did.
It's hard.
I did a follow up, by the way, to the NFT video. Haven't released it. Where I just talked about like the response and how it was nice, but it's kind of out of date now. So I'm just not going to release it whatsoever. But yeah, I might do one because like I did like a grievance video before, which was the Don't Watch This, where I told people, if you ask me for a video call and I don't know who you are, f off.
Yeah,
love that.
I get the one or two every time not every time I publish, but sometimes like I get a few people that really dig it, really lay into me, and I don't understand. It's like hate, like, and I don't understand where it's coming from. Like I'm not insulting these people, you know. I maybe like in one video a long time ago made a joke about incels that was meant as a joke, not as an insult. But whatever. Like, but yeah, I just get like one or two of these people coming out of the woodwork just hate comments. You know, like I suck and I'm never getting anywhere, and you know, don't even try to take credit for something. It's like, oh my god, where are you people coming from? Like,
yeah,
Out of the woodwork.
that are you that bitter? Are you that envious or jealous or pathetic? Like, it's I don't understand, because I mean, I personally don't do that to anyone. Like, even if I don't like a video, I'm not, I don't even thumbs down it unless it's like spreading, you know, some horrible propaganda or something. I never even do that. I'm just like, yeah, don't like it, move on.
because we've been sharing comments, like, I mean, we share comments all the time in the BlenderNest server. Just like, hey guys, check this one out. But there was that one I put, but there was that one I put in which again annoyed me. It was like, you're committing fraud by giving stuff away for free, but not letting people use it in all their commercial projects. I'm like, piss off, man. Just stop it.
Yeah.
Just don't even try.
The notion of giving something away for free for non-commercial use, I think, is just absolutely awesome. But the moment someone starts making money off of something, they need a commercial license so that all the agreements are in place. I mean, say you created a game and someone gave an asset away for free, but never with commercial, you know, it was just use it in your artwork or whatever, for your passion projects and everything else. But if you use it commercially, we've got to talk, because otherwise you are just profiteering off of other people's work, whether or not it's an asset that's right in the background, or whether it's actually a main character asset, or even a full piece.
Yeah.
You know, that has implications further down the line. And if you were a game developer and you did do that, you know, lift someone's work essentially, whether it was intentional or not, it could actually cause I can't remember what the game is now. There was a game that was about to be released, but then they never actually agreed the IP rights from the artist who created like 50% of all the units in the game.
Oh, right.
And the game just folded straight away, because suddenly it's gone from like this passion project idea to a full-blown game, but the assets were just taken and then they ran with it. And of course, when it came to publishing, excuse me, am I going to be paid for my input for the game?
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
dead in the water.
I'll do the Papa Kurt statement, Daddy Kurt. Or, when we're sharing blend files, right? I'm an artist, 3D artist. I make artwork with the blend files. Sometimes these are complete artworks. I share them. I have the copyright to the artworks, right? That copyright doesn't disappear when I share the file. So you open the file, you have free access to open it and learn from it, but the copyright's still mine, right? So if you render out that image and share it online, that's a violation of the copyright. So you don't automatically get commercial rights. I have to transfer that stuff to you, right? I don't have to let you access the file for free. I could just not do that, right? So it's generosity to do that. I don't like, and sometimes I put a price tag on the artworks. That's what I've been doing more recently now because it's more sensible. Most people don't let other people access their full artworks for free because they don't have to. Like,
it's essentially your source code.
Yes, it's a weird expectation asking, I think, an artist who's already letting you access stuff for free to also give you the commercial rights to their copyright. Like, it's, I don't know, give people an inch and they want to take a mile. But I know that it's only a very small percentage of the audience anyway that want to exploit things in that way. Most people are very nice.
Yeah, most people are. It's the 0.1% that are just outrageous.
Yeah, they're loud as well, unfortunately. It's that loud 0.1%.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, there was a guy again, like I messaged about it, where he was like, oh, the musicians on YouTube, they share all their stuff for free, like their audio samples and commercial usage. I'm like really, like all of them share it for free. Like, do you want to back that up first of all, and then secondly, I'm not an audio musician sharing samples, and like again in these cases, like. In some of these, I'm sharing my full artworks. Are those audio musicians sharing their full tracks, their full albums, and letting you use those, like in your commercial projects?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, there's a load of myths though that keep floating around about copyright, which is does not help anybody. So there's no 4-second rule or anything like that. You sample a millisecond of someone else's song, that's copyright infringement. I mean, a millisecond would be too short to be useful, but the point still stands.
Yeah.
There's fair use, but it comes with an agreement. So you can't just like rip someone's stuff and use it.
Yeah, and often the case is there's a great case of Ice Ice Baby, when
I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
it's very blatantly under pressure by Queen, apart from a very slight rhythm change. And there was a great interview with what's his name, Ice-T, where
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, that's the one.
Vanilla and Winkle or something.
Yes, that's his real name. Yeah.
But yeah, he said, and it was probably an air of truth in it. The only reason he got collared and had the music industry come down on him for it was because it got popular. And the recent example of that would be Uptown Funk. How it would have, if it was never so popular, the music industry wouldn't have really focused down. And I won't go off on a complete tangent about music because that's not the focus of this podcast. But it tends to be the more popular ones that end up being basically brought down by the large conglomerates of Sony, EMI, or Universal, and whatever the third big publisher is. But it's nasty the way that they work, and you can't take them on. It's like,
no,
not even if you remortgage your house are you going to be able to take them on.
No, their legal teams are massive.
Yeah,
you can't go against them. Even with the most pitbull attorney or solicitor or barrister, as you guys would say, you can't take them on.
About emails I didn't respond to, one of like the 30 that I packed away today was from someone who downloaded the generative modeling resources, which is the one that I had the most problem with for the NFT stuff. And then I ended up putting the licenses on all my Gambrell files after that video, so it's clear for people what they can and can't do. And on the description for that one, I say, by the way, the techniques, Blender, you can use for what you want. The artwork, the character model, you can't use that commercially, including for NFT projects. And I got the email today from the guy that said, can I use your generative modeling resources for my NFT project? And I'm like, can you read the freaking like?
The license agreement is there, so I don't have to repeat
Yeah.
myself to hundreds of people.
Like, but at least
And
they
do you
asked,
put the
I
license
guess.
on the main page?
So it's in two
Or is it-
places. There's a notice on the store page, and then there's a license file in
Yeah.
the resources. So
Yeah, cool.
It's kind of funny. Like I just recently was playing Minecraft and it was updating. I guess I don't know, more caves and cliffs or something, whatever. And it
That's
just
the
popped
one.
up on the screen, and it was like saying like you could I don't know, grow llamas out of dirt with a bale of hay or something, and it was like going through all these like little tips. And at the end, very end, it just flashed. Does anyone actually read these things? And then it loaded up to the screen, and I was like, I read it. But I just
Yeah, I
feel
like that. I like that one.
How many people are actually reading these things? They're aware of it.
I've been playing Minecraft again recently with that update.
Oh, it's so addictive.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
addictive.
made a huge difference. I mean, talk about generative modeling. It's just amazing what can actually be accomplished. And the cave systems, I mean, it is a completely different game now.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I was so pissed because I went down. Usually, you know, I love just taking a few minutes and just surviving the first night. Like that's just the whole fun of that game is just going in and surviving that first night. But then, you know, you want to start mining, you want to start building things. So I go on and I'm like, all right, diamonds. Diamonds are like at level 13. So I go down to level 13 and I'm like strip mining for like, you know, 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm not seeing any diamonds. And then I realize like, the update. No, now they're at like level 56 to 59, or never negative 56 to 59. So I'm like, now I gotta dig further down.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm having a surprising amount of trouble finding iron in my new world. So I want to try and get a bit better at that.
level 13
below sea level, isn't it?
have a lot of iron. Probably like level 12, 13. That seems I ran into tons of iron down there. It might have just been luck. It might have been my seed, but I ran into tons. I mean, I came back up. I'm like, I'll build 5 buckets. I don't need 5 buckets, but I can make 5 buckets because I have all this iron.
I found the perfect.
I tend to do the surface mining technique where you just run around and find a cave, dive into it, come
That's
back out
good.
again. I often find that's quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fun.
Apart from when you spawn on an island and you look around and there's nothing for miles, it's like,
oh, I know.
We're digging down here, boys.
I've been doing the last few worlds I've done. I've been doing the squatter technique, which is where I just run until I find a village and then I just turn it into
village.
turn it into my home, loot it out.
Now.
Yeah, exactly.
Loot it out. Yeah.
This is fair use.
Yeah, fair.
This is my village.
Kick the villagers out of their beds. It's so funny.
I tend to play it in the evenings, like before I go to bed, so where I can't be able to do any work, can't be able to play anything more intense. Maybe I've got like YouTube on my side screen, just play Minecraft there. You know, quite good. I like it.
It's a mental thing. It really does. It just calms you down. It calms me down.
Whenever I play with the kids, I always just go off and I end up just going mining and coming back with all the resources for everybody because you know, if you left it to everybody else, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Or William would come back. My youngest, he would come back with all iron armor and go, "Look at what I've got." Where's ours? No, look at what I've got.
Exactly. Like that came from. Where's my inventory?
What do you call your Minecraft? What do you call your worlds, though? So I was just wondering.
Oh, because my world 001, my world 002.
Yeah, because like I never had any interesting names. My current one's called Mincemeat because I thought to myself, right, you know, in World War II, they always had like really stupid, weird operation names. Operation Mincemeat, Operation Barbarossa, you know, whatever, or Swordfish. I was like, well, how do they come up with those names? It's just random. So I thought, all right, I'll take Mincemeat then. I'll just call the world Mincemeat.
Meat works.
With
it's fun.
When I've played Minecraft, I think the most I've had was myself, my daughter, my son, and 8 of his friends.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So when I've gone to school, like in the middle of the day, to their school to drop something off, it's all like, oh, it's Markom 3D. It's Markom 3D. Because that's obviously the name of
He's a
Minecraft.
YouTuber.
Like,
He's a YouTuber.
That's right.
Little punks.
We for the when the pandemic really hit, we set up a server so my kids' friends could join on, and so I still go into the server every now and then because we still have it. and it's a realm, and I'll just like I see people go in there randomly and build stuff because like there's just like these random things that are just built up that I never built. My kids aren't going in there, so I know that it's still being used. So I had to like hide all my inventory behind like other behind dirt, and I know where it is, but no one else does, and like I have diamonds in there and stuff.
Yeah, little punk kids.
You know, they'll build nether portals like in the middle of like you just fall into it and be like, oh great, now I'm in the nether, and then like one of those big puffy things shoots a fireball at me and I'm dead, and then I don't have keep inventory on, so I lose it all.
When I was in school, it was a little while after Minecraft came out, we had this fantastic server. Like there was like the peak of creativity for us, I think. We made like a cathedral dedicated to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like we had like a religion around him. It was just like a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
I made an analog computer out of redstone. We had a giant like statue of Steve. We did like Stonehenge. We did like bridges, which were redstone. And it was like, it's all gone now. It's all dead to time, which is really depressing. But there was a funny moment when there was a guy that we didn't really like. He was a little bit of an arse, I think. But he had this like really interesting redstone disposal system. It would push stuff into lava. And we thought for a laugh, why don't we retrofit it? So while he wasn't on the server, as like a revenge for something, I can't remember what it was, but we like laced the entire surrounding of his disposal room with TNT. So with the idea being that when he activated his disposal system, it would blow up. I just remember we waited and waited, and you could just hear it, and it was glorious. Just in the distance, the little and we were like, yes, it worked.
That's genius. I should do that. I mean, I just pissed my kids off because they're like, what are you building? It was like, he's building Mordor again. Like, here I am with like Barad-dûr, and I build the Eye of Sauron, and I have like lava all over the place. It's like burned half a forest.
Oh my god.
Wipe them out, all of them. Wait, that's the wrong one.
Ah, good times. Anyway, yeah, I will need to close this up. So, yeah, really good chatting. Thank you for coming in as well, Markom.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see the Stormtrooper thing.
I'm psyched, man. You showed me some of that. I think that's a great direction, man. Do it. I'm so excited for it.
Oh gosh, something's wrong with me. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, yeah. Good way to end.
Man, it's a great sense of humor, man. Own it.
Yeah.
All right then.
You got me laughing.
All right. Goodbye.
All right,
Goodbye,
see you later,
everyone.
guys.
See ya.